Nof Glibber, hi friends! Darth Momo here, and today, well, I guess I should say this video today, we're going to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi. The TV show, not the character. I got a lot to say about this one. I will admit, I was wary the whole lead up because I did not want Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi to meet again. I thought the whole idea of them meeting again kind of ruins and undermine, I don't want to say ruins because it doesn't flat out ruin it, but I think it extremely undermines the gravitas of their meeting again in A New Hope. I also was wary about it too because I had some ideas on what I think the show could be and how it could go about, and I thought it would have been really cool to have a show about Obi-Wan's trials becoming a Force ghost, because I still think that Obi-Wan's a character that at this point in time, he's got a lot of trauma and baggage under there. His whole worldview was upended. He lost everyone and everything he cared about. His best friend turned to the dark side and caused all of that. And I think what's really interesting about it is it's not like a Yoda or Ahsoka situation. It is Obi-Wan Kenobi is almost indirectly responsible for this, or I would imagine feels responsible, because he was the one who trained Anakin Skywalker, and it was Anakin Skywalker that led to the downfall of the Jedi Order. And I thought this could have been a really good character study for the character to focus on all that and how he works through that and becomes the broken man post Revenge of the Sith to the Alec Guinness kind of Zen character. And I think going through the Force Ghost trials could have been a very good way to not only experience that and have Obi-Wan work through that as he works to overcome his trials and his grief and his baggage to become a lighter person in the Force, to work through his baggage and become the Obi-Wan we see in The New Hope, as well as feature Anakin Darth Vader in a way that, yes, you can still bring Anakin Vader back in the show and have him play a part in it without actually having the character of Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, physically pop up and meet Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I thought that also would have been a good reason for why he should leave Tatooine. As far as what they chose, I'm not a big fan of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the more I think about it, the more I dislike it. I think there were some interesting ideas. I do think the idea of him going off to save Leia is still an acceptable reason for him to leave Tatooine. But their execution, man. I mean, the first thing I'm going to say straight up is the Grand Inquisitor. And I'm disappointed, too, going into this, because the trailer got me hyped. You know, how do you not watch a trailer about Obi-Wan Kenobi with Inquisitors and Duel of the Fates and Darth Vader and not get excited? You know, Ewan McGregor was back. Hayden Christensen was back. This was, you know, the original trilogy had its time to shine with the Force Awakens lead up. This was the time for the prequels to shine, for the fans of the prequels to get hyped. And it didn't live up to it. I watched that first episode and I was just distraught. I was originally because it was just so late at night, I was gonna wait till the next day to watch the second one. And I couldn't wait. I couldn't sit with how the first one left me. The Grand Inquisitor was a disgrace how they did that. I understand there's probably some behind the scenes reasons on why they couldn't get Jason Isaacs back. If there was, then I understand. But if there wasn't, then shame on them for not going down that route. Rupert Friend did okay as the character, but just the way they went about the makeup and the costume of the Grand Inquisitor, atrocious. You know, I think the Fifth Brother was a disgrace as well. I understand that live action or animation to live action translation comes off a little differently. But the Fifth Brother was supposed to be, 6 feet tall, and he had an Asian sounding voice, and now, a Hispanic sounding voice, and now he's a 5 foot tall Asian guy. Like, come on, guys. And the Grand Inquisitor, I mean, they have no excuse. Revenge of the Sith had live action Utapauans, or Powans. I get it if he had never appeared in animation before, or in live action before, I would give it a pass, but they had no excuse. They truly had no excuse. And it's jarring. It takes you out of it if you've seen the previous material. If you know the Inquisitor from Rebels, if you've seen Revenge of the Sith, it takes you out of it. And I thought young Leia did okay, though. I loved Ewan McGregor back, and I loved Hayden back. But I don't like seeing them fight. And I think the fact that they did fight and Vader lost again, I just think that further undermines A New Hope and their confrontation there and their dynamic between Episode 3 and Episode 4. I think a lot of the look of Obi-Wan Kenobi felt cheap. Especially the 4th episode, I would almost call that straight up bad. To my opinion, I think that it was basically just a cheap fan film remake of Fallen Order. That's more or less how it came across. And there was just so many weak writing aspects of the show. Such as Obi-Wan sneaking Leia out with the trench coat. The Inquisitors walk by and they cannot sense Obi-Wan Kenobi 10 feet from them. Reva, the third sister, I thought she was kind of a weak character. I liked what they did with her in the 5th episode, but I'm going to be honest, after that point, she should have died. I like the idea of, like, they didn't just kill off another character for redemption, but I don't think they needed to redeem her. I personally stopped caring about Reva after she was stabbed by Vader in the 5th episode. The Grand Inquisitor's fake out stab and Reva's 2 fake out stab deaths, like, come on, guys. That was horrible. That was weak writing, and it just further undermines stakes when you do things like that. It further undermines believability when you do try to kill off characters later on. Now we're just at the point where it's like, you know, they get stabbed with a lightsaber. All right, well, you know, they're fine. Like, and then I think that what further makes a mockery of that is then Qui-Gon Jinn, the one character in Star Wars who did die from getting stabbed with a lightsaber, does pop up to remind the audience, like, hey guys, I did die. And I just think it's a joke. I think Obi-Wan had a lot of poor writing, and I think it didn't really take advantage of the situation I described a moment ago. Like, this character has a lot of baggage, and where the episode or the show should have slowed down and actually used some flashbacks in the back to tank, you know, actually explored the past and explored the character, it didn't. Boba Fett overexplored the character, and Kenobi underexplored him, and I just don't get how you do that. It's just like, nope, we're just going to push right past this and move along. Obi-Wan's fine. He's ready to go. Let's move on with the plot. I think the 5th episode was my favorite one. It was cool getting to see Vader just show up and own the third sister. That was one of my top tier, like, geek out moments as I'm watching it. And I love the Grand Inquisitor then popping up and being like, yeah, I'm back, because I was really worried if they were going to retcon Rebels with that, because they didn't give me much hope with the competency of the writing so far on how they were going to carry out with that. I definitely loved the flashback scenes, and I feel like the show kind of underutilized Hayden Christensen. It was so great to see him back and on screen. He did such a great job. He knocked it out of the park. He said that he rewatched the Star Wars films, and then he watched all of the Clone Wars and Rebels and lead up to re-portraying Anakin Skywalker and Kenobi, and it shows. He definitely channeled some of that Clone Wars characterization into his portrayal, and it shows, and it makes me want him back, and it makes me want to see him more. And the show just really underutilized him. And in the 6th episode, they're trying to create all the stakes and tension with Luke Skywalker, and it's like, we know how this story ends up. We don't care about Reva. The only thing we care about kind of is Obi-Wan and Vader, and it just shows weak writing yet again when Vader's like, no, let's let the people go. Even though we have a giant Star Destroyer, let's take the whole Star Destroyer and follow Obi-Wan. I just thought that was such weak writing. Even the Grand Inquisitor's like, really, dude? Like, this isn't Vader. Like, I watched Disney Vader in Rebels, and he felt cold and calculating with how he went after the Ghost Crew, and then we get this, and it's like, really? Really? And the way we kind of dance around the whole Obi-Wan Leia thing in the final episode just felt like, okay, that seems pretty awfully convenient. And he's just out in the open and like, this is a Jedi fugitive. And the way the Emperor just kind of goes, hey, Vader, don't go after him. Okay. Like, it just felt like a lot of, oh, that's convenient writing. I know the prequels get some flack for that, and I just think this was 10 times worse as far as the writing went. The dialogue may have been better, but the writing and the story was... I didn't care for it. I didn't like it. The only moment I really liked in the 6th episode was the Obi-Wan Anakin when he cuts his mask off, which is straight out of Rebels, but I'm okay with how they did it here, and it was an emotional moment. But it's a moment that shouldn't exist. It's a moment that was part of a show that didn't need to exist the way it did, and almost undermines the future material. You know, if this was a show that we just had the prequels and that was it, it'd be okay, because it wouldn't have a lot of the close calls with the canon. It would be a weaker written show, but it would be a lot more acceptable. And now it's just kind of at this point where it kind of has weak writing and a plot that more or less kind of causes issues with the original films. And I think because of that, I'd give Kenobi I think I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Which it sucks because it was so great to have Hayden and Ewan back in the roles. And I just hate that they're not going to get a good Star Wars project to be a part of. You know, they got a lot of flack for the prequels, and I thought this might be the time where they finally get their fan recognition and their fan love universally. And I think it just... Sadly, I think it deserved a lot of the panning that it got with the critics. So, yeah, I think I would give Kenobi a 5 out of 10, maybe a 6 out of 10 on a really good day. But the more I think initially I would have given it a 6 out of 10, but I think the more I've thought about it now, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. That's my thoughts on Obi-Wan. The next one we're going to talk about is Andor. Or no, scratch that. Yeah, you know what? We're going to talk about Andor next. That being said, thank you for joining in, and may the Force be with you, always.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, comment down below and hit that like button. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll find them in the light.